This video demonstrates how to generate a cohort analysis report using SkyGlue data. A cohort analysis report shows the customer retention rates over time. In this demo, we use Excel spreadsheet with Excellent Analytics plugin and Microsoft Access database. Excellent Analytics plugin is available at excellentanalytics.com, and you can download it for free. If you need more information, you can click the Install and Use link. There are 5 steps to create a cohort analysis report. Let's start with the first step. Collect raw data from Google Analytics using Excel with Excellent Analytics plugin. This is an empty Excel spreadsheet with Excellent Analytics plugin. Here is the Excellent Analytics menu. To get your Google Analytics data, click Account and log into your Google Analytics using your Google Analytics credentials. Here you can set the dates you want to review the data from. Let's review the data from November 1 to November 30th. Under Dimension, select Custom Variables. Custom Variable Value 5. This is the default slot where SkyGlue stores visitor IDs at. Next, we need to select a metric related to individual visitors since Google Analytics requires at least one metric in the data query. For example, we can select Page View here. You can leave the rest unchanged. If you have multiple accounts or profiles in your Google Analytics account, you can select the account and the profile you want to get data from. Click Add to add a new profile. You can remove the profile you don't need. Click on Execute, and Excellent Analytics will retrieve data from Google Analytics for you. Now we have got the data from Google Analytics in Excel. Here is the visitor's ID stored in custom variable values. By default, they are in scientific notation. You can change them to regular numbers if you like. Select the column, then select Format Cells. Then select Number and change decimal places to 0. Click OK. Here we have all the ID of visitors who visited the website in November. You can name this worksheet to November Visitors. To collect data points for another time period, we can copy this query cell from an existing worksheet and paste it into a new worksheet. Click Update Query and update the query dates. For example, October 1st to October 31st. No need to set up the custom variables or metrics again, as they are retrieved automatically from the query cell. Click Execute again. Now we have the user ID list for October. We can name this worksheet to October Visitors. We can do this again for September Visitors. Copy the Excellent Analytics query cell and paste it to a new worksheet. Click Update Query and set date range. Here we select September 1st to September 30th. Click Execute. We get the user ID list for people who visited the website in September. We can name the worksheet to September Visitors. You can repeat this process until you get all the data you need for your cohort analysis. One last thing you want to do is to remove the first lines on each worksheet. This prepares the data for Step 2 to be imported to Access database. It helps Microsoft Access to detect the data structure of the spreadsheet. Save the workbook. Now we have collected visitor data for November, October, and September. We have completed the first step. We collected raw data from Google Analytics using Excel with Excellent Analytics plugin. In the second step, we need to import raw data to database tables. We use Microsoft Access. Here you can select a blank database and give it a name. Now a database is created. Let's import the data from Excel Workbook to the database. Click External Data and then click Excel. In the Import Wizard, click Browse and select Excel Workbook we just created. Click OK. First, we can import November data. Select the November Visitors worksheet, then click Next. Make sure the checkbox is checked so the first row of the spreadsheet is automatically used as a column header. Click Next, and Next, and Next, and then Finish. Click Close to exit the Import Wizard. The November visitor data are now imported to the database. In the same manner, you can import data for October and September. Select Excel under the External Data menu. Select the Excel Workbook file. Choose the worksheet. Here we choose October Visitors. Click Next, 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 and then click Finish. Click Close to exit the wizard. Here we have October visitor data in the database. Similarly, we can import September visitor data. Again, select Excel under the External Data menu. Select the Excel workbook file. Click OK. Choose the September worksheet. Click Next, Next, and Next, and then click Finish. Click Close to exit the wizard. Now we have all the data from September through November. We are done with Step 2, importing raw data and creating database tables. Next, let's do Step 3, run SQL queries against database tables to get retention data. You can open Access, select the Create menu, and then click Query Design. You can close this table selection window. Select SQL View here. We will use the SQL query we created earlier. You can get the sample SQL query from our website. Paste the SQL query here. You can change the table names to match yours. This query collects user IDs appeared in both September table and November table. We can run the query. Here it shows the list of visitors in both November and September tables. We can easily get the total count by adding a count function in the SQL query. Run the query again. The number is 23. This means there are 23 visitors who visit the website in September and still came back in November. Now we have demonstrated the third step, run SQL queries against database tables to get retention data. We can start Step 4, create retention data table in Excel. We can create another blank spreadsheet and enter table headers. In the header column, we have September, October, and November. In the header row, we have month 0, month 1, and month 2. Month 0 is the visitor count of all visitors for a particular month. We can get that data from each table in Access by reading their record counts. In November, the total is 2,526. In October, the total is 2,429. In September, the total count is 2,481. We can enter these numbers in the retention data table. September, 2,481. October, 2,429. November, 2,526. In our query earlier, we knew there are 23 people who visited the site in September and still came back 2 months later in November. We can enter 23 here. We can run another query to see how many people in October still came back in November. Get the new SQL query. This SQL query is very similar to the previous one. We only changed the table names from September to October. Change the view to SQL View. Run the query. We have 38 visitors who visited the website in October and still came 1 month later in November. Enter the value in the retention data spreadsheet. Lastly, we need to run a query and see how many people visited in September still came back 1 month later in November. Get the next SQL query. This query updated table names from November to October. Switch to the SQL view. Run the query. The count is 39. Enter the value in the spreadsheet. Here is the retention data table. Now we have finished Step 4. We can move on to the last step, visualize and analyze the data. Let's change the visitor counts to retention rates. We can copy this retention data table with visitor counts and paste it here. Remove the values in the table since we will replace them with retention rates. We can start retention rate calculation from this cell. The value of this cell equals to the retention number divided by the total number, which is C2 divided by B2. Since we always want to use column B as the total number, let's add a $sign here. We can copy this calculation to other cells in the row, and also copy the calculation to other rows. Okay, now we have all retention rates in our data table. Lastly, we just need to insert a line chart. Click the data table, select the Insert menu, choose a line chart. Here you go, we have the retention chart. You can change the y-axis to logarithmic scale to get better view on the data. Select the y-axis and choose Format Axis, and then check the logarithmic scale. Click Close. You can see the numbers dropped a lot for this particular case. This video demonstrated all steps we use to generate a cohort report. It should only take you a few minutes to generate a graph like this once you know how to do it. Let us know if you have any questions.